Hi, this is Kylie with Fem and Flow. I hope everyone's having a great day. Today, I'm going to talk about inner versus outer spiritual teachings. This is a very interesting and very important topic. Throughout history, there have been inner versus outer spiritual teachings. Inner spiritual teachings are esoteric spiritual truths. These inner spiritual truths may seem shocking to people indoctrinated, brainwashed, and purely living in the ways of this false matrix reality. Inner spiritual teachings align with mystical or esoteric traditions. Within many religions, there are mystical branches or teachings that focus on the direct experience of the divine or ultimate reality. Outer spiritual teachings are aligned more with literal interpretations of certain texts. Outer spiritual teachings tended to turn more religious in nature, where the followers followed a strict doctrine, followed specific rules, and had more of an us versus them mentality. In this way of turning outer spiritual teachings religious in nature, outer spiritual teachings were hijacked and used for manipulation and control. I'll get more into this in a moment. Inner and outer spiritual teachings go along with levels of consciousness. At lower levels of consciousness, individuals tend to take teachings or words literally when they actually have higher, metaphorical, deeper meaning. The rich, textured, nuanced truth of it all is only correctly deciphered or understood when one is at a higher level of consciousness. This is because at higher levels of consciousness, we are connected to higher realms, resonating with higher dimensional energy, including eighth dimensional God or source energy, and connected to divine guidance. This connects us to our inner knowing. While incarnated on Earth, being connected in this way helps us see and know truth, even if we are lied to in every possible way. This information about level of consciousness is the base level of it all. This gets more sinister because the dark global elite took severe advantage of the portion of humanity at the lower levels of consciousness. The dark knew at lower levels of consciousness, individuals took these teachings and texts literally, so they altered the doctrines and texts in order to further manipulate and control. This includes the Bible. We need to stop taking the Bible so literally and wake up. Yes, we can find truth in the Bible, but it is not all truth. I see people on social media saying, yeah, I know evil seems to be running the world and everything about society is backwards, but the Bible is God's word, so it is total truth, and God protects it from being manipulated and changed. Okay, when people say this baffles me. People, wake up. Really? If that doesn't wake you up, here's an example that should open some eyes. An example of inner versus outer teaching and how dangerous and dark it can get when people follow literal interpretations of texts that were most definitely altered is the idea of jihad. Jihad is found in the Islamic religion. The word jihad comes from the root jahada, which means to strive or exert effort. In Islamic theology, it encompasses both an internal and external struggle. Jihad can also refer to a holy war that we are all meant to partake in and for which there is a great reward. Extremist Muslims take this to mean a true physical war, complete with gruesome violence against all non-believers. This can be viewed as an extreme outer teaching. The inner teaching is that the jihad is actually a war within you, a war between what is good and right within you versus your inner darkness. Another way of expressing this idea, a way that many may resonate with, is that the inner war is between your self-centered ego and your higher self. This inner jihad is a war that we are all engaged in at some point. It is our ultimate destiny to take on and eventually defeat the darkness within us to face our shadows. The metaphorical context is once freed from this darkness, we can experience the nirvana or heaven promised to us in the many different religions. And when you boil it down, the inner teachings that are attached to different religions, a lot of them are all saying the same thing. Yet many people fight against each other and say, my way is the right way, you're wrong, you're going to hell. We just need to get over that. We need to get past the indoctrination and see where there are similarities. We saw in the jihad example how dark it can get when we take a text literally. I read in a book that writing these teachings in code was meant to protect the teachings from those who were not yet ready for this information, but I disagree with this. It is partially true, but it leaves out how many of these texts and teachings were altered for manipulation and control. We probably all agree that the outer extremist teaching or belief of jihad is dark, but let's also talk about outer teachings of Christianity. I've said this before, but I love Jesus or Yeshua, whichever name you prefer to use, and Mary Magdalene. They deeply resonate with me. Yes, you can find truth in the Bible, but it has been altered to manipulate and control. There's a lot of fear and guilt in the Old Testament, and I say this often, but fear and guilt are the basis of manipulation. When you are raised in any religion and indoctrinated, sometimes it can be hard to see past all of the lies we were told because they were taught to us as truth, and some grow up their entire life being taught this. I've said this before, but some of the outer teachings of Christianity are actually satanic. Satanic in the way of inverting what is natural and aligned with God's divine order, but also in a way of doing rituals for dark purposes. The inner teaching of Christianity that actually aligns with the teachings of Jesus and Mary Magdalene are more mystical in nature and fall in line with energy alchemy, our true connection to God within our own hearts, and the true nature of God. The dark inverted this truth by taking all of the power away from each one of us as individuals, as divine beings, and said it was Jesus, the Son of God, who had these powers alone. Then they altered the story to be one of sacrifice, which is a pillar of Satanism. Now most Christians call themselves God-fearing, sing worship songs thanking Jesus for being a sacrifice, and do rituals where they take communion and eat the bread that represents Jesus' flesh and drink wine that represents his blood. They think Jesus was sacrificed for the sins of humanity and his death washed away our sins. I was raised in Christianity and live in the Bible Belt. Everyone I know basically is Christian. But hello, this teaching is wild. Once you see the truth, you just can't unsee it. I don't align with those beliefs. I think the truth has been hidden and altered, and that actually aligns with Satanism. This is another example of an outer teaching that has been hijacked. The outcome of the outer teaching of jihad is much darker, I would say, with all of the murder. But I bet many Christians who follow outer teachings would be quick to vilify these Muslims, but not even second guess or question their own beliefs. I'm not saying this to punch on the Christians. I am more saying indoctrination, especially around religious beliefs due to the extreme emotional nature, is a hell of a drug. Let's wake up and see all of this indoctrination, manipulation, and programming for what it is. Let's truly wake up to all of the ways it targets us. Let's stop blindly listening to newscasters, celebrities, pastors, and the indoctrination of the education system. Let's stop listening and go within. We all have the power to connect to God within. We all have the power to connect to truth, divine wisdom, and inner knowing. So historically, there were groups who had these inner teachings and saw that the outer teachings and texts associated with it were getting altered and hijacked. They saw how the dark was trying to cover up, bury, and hide the real truth and the inner teachings. These are the good groups I'm talking about. There were also dark groups doing this as well. The dark groups passed down the knowledge of energy alchemy and spiritual esoteric knowledge, but used it for dark and for control. One example of a dark group doing this were the 33-degree Freemasons. People are initiates and they get this info passed down to them. Remember, I've talked about this before, but energy alchemy is neutral. You can use it for good or bad. Energy alchemy is just the nature of the universe and reality. Any system that tells you energy alchemy is evil is trying to control and manipulate you. Then there are the groups who did this for good. They didn't want this truth and knowledge to get wiped out, destroyed, and forgotten. One group was the Knights Templar. They actually took the bones of Jesus or Yeshua, Mary Magdalene, and their family from the burial and hid the bones in order to have proof later on. Then there were initiates who passed artifacts and knowledge down generation after generation so this truth would never be buried. They kept information and truth until they knew humanity was ready and would accept the information. Otherwise, the fear was that these true teachings and truth would get hidden forever. They were waiting for humanity's level of consciousness to get to a certain level to reveal the true inner teachings. I said at the beginning, this concept of inner versus outer teaching goes along with the level of consciousness. We have heard this high level of consciousness be called enlightenment, Christ consciousness, elevated consciousness, nirvana, samadhi, Tao, flow state, the list goes on and on. There's a reason the concept of high consciousness is such a huge, important archetypal idea that has many different names throughout many religions, regions, and cultures. If all of these inner teachings were to come out while humanity was at low levels of consciousness, the truth could easily be buried. This also ties and corresponds to indigenous Native American spiritual beliefs. Native Americans have wisdom keepers that pass down these inner teachings and esoteric knowledge so this important truth never gets lost. They too were passing this knowledge down and waiting for the time humanity's level of consciousness has risen high enough that they would be able to recognize these resonating truths. I've mentioned this book before. It's called Think Indigenous: Native American Spirituality for a Modern World by Doug Goodfeather. I will read a part out of his book, and this is called The Butterfly Prophecy. My vision is known as the butterfly prophecy, but similar prophecies have occurred in different cultures and been known by other names. These similar prophecies share three primary messages. First, that Grandmother Earth is in the process of bringing balance to human-caused ecological destruction. Second, that it is the time for chosen keepers of traditional wisdom to build bridges between nations and share their indigenous wisdom to help heal and raise the vibration of humanity. Third, that there are many people from many nations and races who will recognize these ancient indigenous teachings and be part of the healing and help humanity cross the threshold into this new era of deeper spiritual connection with Mother Earth and with each other. These people referred to in part 3 of the butterfly prophecy are known as star seeds. People who have been planted here with an inherent sense of knowing of earthly and celestial spiritual flow. Starseeds will feel the heartbeat of Mother Earth pounding in their chest as they read the strangely familiar words of the prophecy. Like the butterfly prophecy says, the time is now. We are in the Age of Enlightenment and the Age of Truth. The consciousness of humanity is rising at an exponential pace higher than even before. Don't be fearful if there is destruction all around us. The dark control system of the false matrix is falling. Evil is being unveiled. We are in amazing times, even if things appear really dark. If you haven't already, go back to my previous episodes and learn about how we truly create our own reality. Heal your nervous system so you can truly be fully in control of your emotions. Our emotions all hold unique frequencies, and these frequencies are what create our reality. Be a master of your own vibration. Work past your traumas and release any limiting beliefs. I am divinely guided to share all of this information for a reason. You could call all of this information inner teachings. The time is now. Learn it, practice it, and step into creator mode. Saying all of this, really question any large organizations that have succeeded and thrived during these previous times. They succeeded for a reason and weren't squashed. They went along or supported the dark agenda and the false matrix, whether they did this knowingly or unknowingly. Don't be deterred or taken aback if you really resonate with any of the great prophets like Jesus or Buddha. This takes nothing away from them. It only amplifies their truth. This lifts up their truth and their true teachings. They were teaching this inner teaching, and inner teachings are coming out now. The Age of Enlightenment will amplify all of the things that truly resonate in your heart and will remove all of the fear, guilt, and indoctrination. So much beauty and synchronicity is about to bloom. Science is also going to have a renaissance. Our science is extremely biased currently and controlled for a reason. It only focuses on the material world, which is extremely short-sighted but also done for a dark reason. Science and spirituality go hand in hand, and both are a pursuit of higher knowledge. They are very connected. Basically, we're in very exciting times. That's all I have for today. And if you like this episode, please share with a friend, share with family, share with loved ones, subscribe, and give me a 5-star review. I mentioned this on my last episode, but I have started posting episode transcripts in the episode description, and that is all stored in a Google Drive. I know sometimes for me, I comprehend it better when I actually read the information in front of me instead of just listen. So if you're like that, definitely go check out those episode transcripts. I'm doing this moving forward, but I still have a lot of episodes I need to go back and edit when it comes to this transcript, punctuation, and all of that. So I'm still working on that. And it probably is better to follow all the episodes in the succession they were posted. So I might go back and number all of the episodes and number the transcripts as well. That's all still a work in progress, but hopefully I'll have it done soon. Thank you. I love you all and have a great week.